The cargo bay door hissed open and David Chun stepped inside, checking his manifest one more time. Station Gamma 7 always had problems with their loading crews. Half the time, they put the wrong containers in the wrong ships. He needed to make sure everything was correct before jumping to the next system. His boots echoed on the metal floor as he walked between the stacked containers. Everything looked fine until he reached the back corner. One of the supply crates had been knocked over. The lid was partially open. David sighed and walked over to close it. Then he heard something, a small sound, like breathing. He froze and listened carefully. There was again, coming from behind the fallen crate. David moved slowly around the container and stopped. Two pairs of eyes stared up at him from the shadows. Big eyes, frightened eyes. They were children, small and thin, huddled together in the corner. But they were not human children. Scales covered their skin. One had silver scales that caught the light. The other had golden scales that seemed to glow faintly. Small horns poked through their messy hair. Their clothes were torn and dirty. Dragons. These were dragon children. David had seen dragons before, but only from a distance. Most species in the galaxy feared them. Stories said they were dangerous and violent. But these two did not look dangerous at all. They looked terrified. The older one pulled the younger one closer, trying to shield her. Her thin arms shook. David slowly crouched down to their level. He kept his movements gentle and spoke in a soft voice. "Hey there. It's okay. I'm not going to hurt you." The children did not move. The older one watched him with sharp focus, ready to run or fight despite being so small and weak. David noticed how thin they were. Their scales looked dull. The younger one had dark circles under her eyes. When was the last time they ate? "Are you hungry?" David asked. He reached slowly into his jacket pocket. Both children flinched. He pulled out a ration bar and held it up so they could see. "Here, you can have this." He placed the bar on the floor and slid it toward them. Then he sat back and waited. The younger child looked at the food with desperate eyes. She made a small sound and reached for it, but the older one grabbed her hand and stopped her. The older one stared at David, clearly trying to decide if this was a trap. David smiled and pulled out another ration bar. He unwrapped it and took a bite himself. "See? It's safe. Just food." The older child hesitated for a long moment. Then she slowly reached out and took the bar. She broke it in half and gave the bigger piece to the younger one. They both ate like they had not seen food in days. Probably because they had not. "Do you speak Galactic Common?" David asked. The older one nodded slowly. "Little bit," she said. Her voice was rough and quiet. "What are your names?" The children looked at each other. The older one seemed to be thinking hard. Finally, she said, "I am." She paused and then said a word in a language David did not understand. It sounded like music and thunder mixed together. "That's a beautiful name, but I can't say it," David said honestly. "How about I give you names I can say? Just for now." The older one thought about this and nodded. David looked at the silver scale girl. She reminded him of Moonlight. "How about Sarah? That's a nice name." The girl considered this and nodded again. David turned to the younger one with her golden scales. "And you could be Luna." The younger girl smiled a little. It was the first time either of them had smiled. "Luna," she repeated. "Good. I'm David." He sat down cross-legged on the floor, making himself less threatening. "Can you tell me how you got on my ship?" Sarah looked down. "We hide. Need to leave station. Bad people looking for us." "What bad people?" "Cannot say. They find us. They take us back." Sarah's voice got even quieter. "Please not tell station security. They give us to bad people." David saw real terror in their eyes. Whatever they were running from had them completely scared. He thought about calling security anyway. This was not his problem. He was just a cargo hauler trying to make a living. But then Luna looked up at him with those big golden eyes. She was so small, so scared, just a child who needed help. David had lost his own family years ago. An accident on a colony world. His wife and daughter. Gone in a moment. He remembered what it felt like to be helpless and alone. He could not do that to these children, that he made his decision. "Okay, I won't call security." Both girls relaxed a little. "But you need to stay quiet and hidden until we jump to the next system. Can you do that?" They both nodded quickly. "Good." David stood up. "I'll bring you more food and some water. And maybe some cleaner clothes. You'll be safe here. Why you help us? Sarah asked. She seemed confused that anyone would be kind. David smiled sadly. Because you're just kids who need help. That's reason enough. He left them in the cargo bay and went to gather supplies. As he walked through the ship, he knew he was probably making a huge mistake. Dragons were supposed to be dangerous. Harboring runaways could get him in serious trouble. But when he looked at those two frightened children, he could not see danger. He only saw two little girls who needed someone to protect them. And maybe, just maybe, he needed them too. His ship had been empty and quiet for too long. Perhaps it was time to have a family again. Even if that family had scales and horns and could probably breathe fire, David gathered food, water, and some of his old clothes. They would be too big, but better than the rags the girls wore. He headed back to the cargo bay with his arms full. Tomorrow, he would figure out the details. Tonight, he would make sure two children were fed and safe. That was what mattered. 6 months had changed everything. David stood in the doorway of the small house he now called home, watching Sarah and Luna play in the yard. The golden afternoon sun of New Terra made Luna's scales shine like polished metal. Sarah was teaching her sister how to kick a ball, something they had learned from human children in the colony. The house was simple but comfortable. 3 bedrooms, a kitchen, a living area. It sat on the edge of the colony where the farms met the forest. Far enough from town to have privacy, but close enough to get supplies when needed. Luna kicked the ball hard, and it flew past Sarah into the bushes. Both girls laughed and ran after it. David smiled. They laughed a lot now. When he first found them, they barely made any sound at all. Papa, did you see? I kicked it really far. Luna called out, Papa. David's heart still warmed every time she said it. He never thought he would hear that word again after losing his daughter. I saw. Good job, he called back. Sarah emerged from the bushes holding the ball. She had grown taller in the past months. Better food and safety had helped both girls become healthier. Their scales now shined properly. Their eyes were bright and alert instead of dull with fear. David went back inside to start dinner. He had learned that dragon children could eat almost anything humans ate. They especially loved pasta for some reason. Tonight he was making spaghetti, one of their favorites that A.S. cooked. He thought about how much his life had changed. After leaving Station Gamma 7, he had filed adoption papers on a frontier world where officials did not ask too many questions. A little money in the right hands, and Sarah and Luna became legally his daughters. He sold his cargo ship and used the money to buy this homestead on New Terra. The other colonists had been surprised when he arrived with 2 dragon children. Most species fear dragons, but David made it clear his daughters were off limits for prejudice. Anyone who had a problem with them had a problem with him. Most people learned to accept it. Some even became friendly. The Alvari family who ran the general store always gave the girls free candy. The clique merchants thought it was fascinating that a human could raise dragons. Papa, we're hungry, Luna announced as both girls ran inside. They tracked dirt across the floor, but David did not mind. Dirt could be cleaned. Childhood was precious. Wash your hands first, he said. They groaned but went to the bathroom. David heard the water running and smiled. Teaching them basic human habits had been interesting. Dragons apparently did not care much about things like washing hands before meals. But they adapted quickly. Dinner was loud and cheerful. Luna told David all about the bug she found. Sarah was quieter but smiled as her sister talked. David asked about their day and listened to every word. This was what family felt like. This was what he had missed. After dinner, they sat together in the living room. David had been teaching them to read Galactic Common better. Luna struggled with it more than Sarah, but she tried hard. They also learned Earth languages. David taught them English because it was his native tongue. Papa, what does this word mean? Sarah pointed at a word in her book. Courage, David said. It means being brave, even when you're scared. Sarah thought about this. Like when you found us. You were brave to help us. Maybe, but you too were brave first. You escaped bad people and survived on your own. That took real courage. Luna curled up against David's side. Are we safe here, Papa? Will bad people find us? It was a question they still asked sometimes. Usually when they had bad dreams. David wrapped his arm around Luna. You're safe. I promise. Anyone who wants to hurt You has to go through me first. Sarah watched them with serious eyes. Sometimes David saw something in her expression that seemed far too old for a child, like she carried heavy secrets. But whenever he asked if something was wrong, she just smiled and said everything was fine. Later that night, after the girls went to bed, David sat on the porch. The stars were bright above New Terra. Somewhere out, there was the wider galaxy, the places Sarah and Luna came from, the people they were running from. He still did not know the full story. The girls said they were running from bad people who wanted to use them for political purposes. They said they were dragon nobility, but not important enough for anyone to really search for them. David believed them mostly, but sometimes he wondered if there was more to the story. The ship flew overhead, its lights blinking in the darkness. David watched it pass. More ships had been visiting the sector lately. He heard rumors that dragon military vessels were in the area. Something about searching for someone important, but that had nothing to do with him. New Terra was a peaceful colony. Nothing important happened here. That was why he chose it. He went inside and checked on the girls one more time. They slept in the same room, even though they each had their own. Sarah always kept Luna close, protecting her even in sleep. David pulled their blankets up and quietly left the room. Tomorrow he would take them to town for supplies. Maybe stop by the park so they could play with other children. Normal things. Safe things. As he got ready for bed, David looked at the old photo on his nightstand. His wife and daughter from his previous life. They smiled at him from the picture. He touched it gently. "I hope you don't mind," he whispered. "I found new people to protect, new people to love. They need me, and maybe I need them too." The photo did not answer, but David felt at peace. He was doing the right thing, giving 2 children a home and a future. That was what mattered. Outside, unknown to David, a sleek ship entered orbit around New Terra. Inside that ship, dragon soldiers in advanced armor reviewed reports and search databases. They were looking for 2 very specific children. The search was getting closer. The marketplace in the colony center was busy with afternoon shoppers. David walked between the stalls with Sarah and Luna, looking for fresh vegetables. The girls stayed close to him, holding hands with each other. New Terra's main market was a mix of species and cultures. Avari merchants sold colorful fabrics. Click traders offered technological goods. Human farmers displayed their produce. Everyone gathered here to trade and socialize. David was picking out tomatoes when he noticed something wrong. Sarah had gone completely still. Her hand gripped Luna's so tight that her knuckles turned white. "Sarah, what's wrong?" David asked quietly. She did not answer. Her eyes were locked on something across the market square. David followed her gaze and felt his stomach drop. 3 figures stood near the fountain. They wore armor that looked nothing like what most species used. Sleek, dark, and clearly advanced. Their helmets covered their faces, but their body shape was distinctly dragon. Soldiers, professional and dangerous. The soldiers were talking to colonists, showing them something on a data pad. Probably pictures. Asking questions. "We need to go," Sarah whispered. "Now." David paid quickly for the tomatoes and guided both girls away from the square. They walked at a normal pace, trying not to draw attention. Luna looked confused, but followed without question. They made it 2 blocks before Luna suddenly gasped. She had heard something, someone speaking in a language she recognized. David looked back. One of the soldiers had turned their direction. The helmet tilted slightly, as if studying them. "Keep walking," David said calmly. "Don't run. Just keep walking." They turned a corner, and David led them through several side streets. His heart pounded, but he kept his face calm. The girls were scared enough already. He needed to be strong for them. Finally, they reached his vehicle and climbed inside. David drove out of town toward home, checking his mirrors constantly. No one followed them. Once they were safely inside the house with the doors locked, David sat both girls down at the kitchen table. "Okay, I need the truth. All of it. Who are those soldiers looking for?" Sarah looked down at her hands. Luna started crying softly. Sarah put her arm around her sister. "Us," Sarah finally said. "They're looking for us." "Why? What exactly did you run from?" David kept his voice gentle but firm. "And don't tell me you're just minor nobility. I've never seen soldiers like that searching for anyone minor." Sarah took a deep breath. Tears ran down her face. We are nobility, but not small nobility. We are daughters of important dragon family. Very important. There was arrangement, political marriage to unite dragon clans. We were supposed to marry sons of rival family when we grow old enough. Your children, David said, anger creeping into his voice. You can't marry anyone. In dragon culture, arrangements are made young. But we did not want this. The family we were promised are cruel. They treat weaker dragons badly. We would have no freedom, no choice, no life. Sarah wiped her eyes. So we ran. We stole shuttle and escaped. We thought if we could hide long enough, maybe they would give up. Maybe we could be free. How important is your family? David asked. Sarah hesitated. Very important. That is all I can say. If they know we are here, they will come. Many of them. They will take us back. David sat back in his chair and thought. This was worse than he imagined. But it did not change anything. These were still his daughters. He still loved them. He would still protect them. Okay, here's what we're going to do. David pulled out his communication device. I have friends. People I served with before I became a cargo hauler. I was a soldier once. Earth Defense Force. I know how to deal with situations like this. Both girls looked at him with surprise. They never knew their papa was once a military man. David made several calls. He contacted old squad members who owed him favors. He talked to people who could get weapons and supplies quietly. He arranged for backup plans if things went bad. After an hour of calls, he put down the device and looked at his daughters. I want you both to listen carefully. I don't care who your birth family is. I don't care about dragon politics or arranged marriages. You're my daughters now. I adopted you. I love you, and I will not let anyone take you away against your will. But Papa, Luna said through tears, they're very strong. Dragon warriors are the best fighters in Galaxy. How can you stop them? David smiled. Because I have something they don't. I have something worth fighting for. I have you too, and I have human stubbornness. We might not be the strongest species, but we never give up when it comes to protecting our family. Sarah stood up and hugged David tight. Luna joined them. They held each other in the kitchen while outside. The sun began to set. That night, David did not sleep much. He set up security monitors around the property. He checked his old service weapon and made sure it still worked. He prepared emergency bags in case they needed to run. Around midnight, his communication device blinked. A message from one of his old military contacts. David, something big is happening. A dragon dreadnought just entered the system. Not just any ship. A royal vessel. Whatever you're involved in, it's bigger than you think. Be careful, friend. David looked at the message for a long time. A royal vessel. His daughters were not just important nobility. They were something more. Something they still had not told him that he walked quietly to their room and watched them sleep. Sarah had her arm around Luna, protecting her as always. They looked so peaceful, so innocent that it did not matter what secrets they kept. They were still children who needed protection. That was enough. David went back to the living room and sat in the dark, his weapon on his lap. He would keep watch tonight. Tomorrow he would demand the full truth. But tonight he would simply be what they needed, that a father standing guard while his children slept safe. Dawn came too quickly. David made breakfast while his mind raced with possibilities. Sarah and Luna ate quietly, both knowing something important was about to happen. They could feel the tension in the air. David set down his fork and looked at both girls. I got a message last night. A dragon royal vessel is in orbit. Not just military, royal. That means someone extremely important is on that ship. Sarah went pale. Luna grabbed her sister's hand. There's something you haven't told me yet, David said gently. I need to know everything now. Not to judge you, not to be angry, but because I can't protect you if I don't know what we're really facing. Sarah looked at Luna. Some silent communication passed between them. Finally, Sarah nodded and took a deep breath. We are not just daughters of important family, she said quietly. We are daughters of the Dragon Queen, Queen Ashera, ruler of all Dragon Imperium. The room went silent. David felt like the floor had dropped out from under him. Your princesses, he said slowly. Actual princesses, the queen's daughters. Both girls nodded. Tears ran down their faces. The arrangement we ran from was not made by our mother, Sarah continued. We were kidnapped by political enemies. They wanted to force Mother to give up throne by threatening us. We escaped before they could use us. We have been hiding ever since. And now your mother is here, David said, understanding dawning. She's been searching for you this whole time. Yes, Luna whispered. She probably thinks we are dead, or still captured. She does not know we are safe. David stood up and paced the kitchen. His daughters were royalty. The most powerful dragon in the galaxy was currently in orbit above them. This was so far beyond anything he imagined. But then he looked at Sarah and Luna. They were terrified, not of their mother, but of being taken away, of losing the life they built here, of losing him. Okay, David said, making his decision. We're going to fix this the right way. We're going to the Colonial Administration building, and we're going to request a meeting with the dragon delegation. We'll explain everything. Your mother deserves to know you're alive and safe. But Papa, Sarah protested, if we reveal ourselves, we have to go back. We have to return to royal life. We lose everything here. We lose you. David knelt down in front of them. Listen to me. Your mother has been searching for you for months. She's probably been terrified. She deserves to know her daughters are safe. And we'll make her understand. We'll find a way for everyone to be happy. Trust me. 2 hours later, they stood in the Colonial Administration building. The administrator, a nervous Avari official, had contacted the dragon delegation. Now they waited in a conference room. The door opened and 3 dragon soldiers entered, led by a commander with scarred silver scales. The commander's eyes swept the room and locked onto Sarah and Luna. Recognition and shock crossed his face. Princesses, he breathed. He immediately dropped to one knee. The other soldiers followed. Thank the ancestors. We thought you were dead. Commander Wraith, Sarah said formally. We are well. This human, David Chun, has protected us. Wraith stood and approached David. The commander was huge, towering over him. David stood his ground. You have harbored the royal princesses. Wraith's voice was hard to read. I found 2 scared children and gave them a home, David said firmly. I didn't know who they were, and it wouldn't have mattered if I did. Wraith studied David for a long moment. Then he did something unexpected. He bowed his head slightly. You have my gratitude, human. The queen will wish to meet you. The queen is here, Luna asked nervously. She is currently on the royal vessel, but she will come down. Wraith activated his communication device. Your Majesty, I have found them. The princesses are alive and well. The response came immediately. The voice was powerful, musical, and filled with emotion. Take me to them. Now. 20 minutes later, a shuttle landed near the administration building. The entire colony came out to watch. A dragon royal vessel sending a shuttle to their small world was unprecedented. The shuttle door opened and she emerged. Queen Ashera was magnificent and terrifying. Her scales were deep crimson, like polished rubies. She stood tall and proud, radiating power and authority. Her eyes glowed like molten gold. She wore armor that looked like art, every piece perfectly crafted. But when she saw her daughters, all that royal composure cracked. Her face showed pure relief and joy and love. My daughters, she said, her voice breaking. Sarah and Luna ran to her. Queen Ashera dropped to her knees and wrapped her arms around them, pulling them close. She held them and cried. The most powerful dragon in the galaxy, crying with relief in front of everyone. David watched and felt his heart break a little. This was their real mother. She loved them. She had been searching desperately for them. How could he compete with that? After a long moment, Queen Ashera stood, keeping her daughters close. Her eyes found David. She approached him with slow, measured steps. Her soldiers tensed, ready to protect her. She stopped in front of David and looked down at him. Her expression was unreadable. You are the human who protected my daughters. Yes, your Majesty, David said. His voice was steady despite his fear. They were starving and frightened when you found them. Yes, and you gave them shelter, food, safety. You asked for nothing in return. They're children. They needed help. That's all the reason I needed. Queen Ashera stared at him for a long, tense moment. Then she did something that shocked everyone. She placed her hand over her heart and bowed her head to David. A gesture of deepest respect. You saved my daughters when I could not. You gave them something I failed to provide. For this, I am in your debt." She straightened and looked at Sarah and Luna. "We have much to discuss. But first, I wish to know everything. How you survived. How you came to be here." She looked at David. "And I wish to understand the human who earned my daughter's love." David met her eyes. "Then let's talk. As parents." Queen Ashereth sat at David's kitchen table, looking completely out of place. Her royal armor seemed too grand for the simple room. But she had insisted on seeing where her daughters lived for the past 6 months. David served tea, something humans did when having important conversations. The queen accepted the cup with curiosity and took a small sip. Her expression showed surprise. "This is pleasant," she said. "We have nothing like this in dragon culture." "It's just tea," David said, sitting down. "Nothing fancy." Sarah and Luna sat between them, still nervous. They had never seen their mother in a casual setting before. Queens did not normally visit modest homes or drink tea with common people. "Tell me about your life here," Queen Ashereth said to her daughters. "I wish to understand." Over the next hour, Sarah and Luna shared everything. Play in the yard, learning to read, making friends with other children, simple dinners, bedtime stories, all the normal things they had never experienced as princesses. Queen Asherah listened to every word. David watched her face change as she realized what her daughters had found here. Not luxury or power, something more valuable. Childhood, freedom, normalcy. "I gave you everything," the queen said softly. "Tutors, servants, beautiful rooms, anything you wanted. But I never gave you this. Simple happiness. You were busy ruling an empire." "Mother," Sarah said, "we understand. Understanding does not remove regret." Queen Asherah looked at David. "How did you know what they needed?" "I just treated them like children," David said. "Let them play. Taught them things. Made them feel safe. That's what all kids need." "You make it sound simple." "It is simple. Love isn't complicated. We make it complicated with rules and expectations and worries about doing everything perfect. But kids just need to know someone cares about them and will protect them." Queen Asherah was quiet for a moment. "I was raised to be queen, trained from hatching to rule. I learned strategy, combat, politics, history. But no one taught me how to simply be a mother." "It's not too late to learn," David said. Over the next 3 days, something remarkable happened. Queen Asherah stayed on New Terra. She moved into David's guest room, much to her guard's concern. She wanted to understand the life her daughters had built. David taught her human parenting, how to play simple games, how to cook meals together, how to tell bedtime stories. The queen was a quick learner. One afternoon, David found her helping Luna build a tree house in the backyard. The powerful dragon queen was hammering nails and measuring boards, taking instructions from an excited 8-year-old. "Higher, Mama. Make it higher," Luna called out. The queen adjusted the platform, and Luna clapped with joy. Queen Asherah smiled, and David realized it was probably the first genuine smile she had shown in months. That evening, they all sat together after dinner. Queen Asherah shared stories of dragon history. David told tales of Earth and human exploration. Sarah and Luna simply enjoyed having both parents together. "Papa David, tell the story about the human who saved a whole city with just words," Luna requested. David told the story, making it dramatic and exciting. Queen Asherah listened with interest. "Humans value words highly," she observed. "Dragons value strength and honor." "Words can be strong," David said. "The right words at the right time can change everything. Stop wars. Start peace. Build bridges between enemies. Perhaps it is why you succeeded where I failed. You knew the right words to make my daughters feel safe." Their comfortable moment was shattered by an urgent communication. Commander Rythe contacted the Queen with troubling news. "Your Majesty, our intelligence has detected rebel fleet movements. The same faction that kidnapped the princesses. They know you are here on New Terra. They are gathering forces." Queen Asherah stood immediately, her royal bearing returning. "How long until they arrive?" 3 days at most." The queen looked at her daughters, then at David. "I must return to my ship. Prepare defenses. I will not allow them to threaten my daughters again." "No," David said firmly. Everyone looked at him in surprise. You're not facing them alone. This is my home. These are my daughters too. We fight together. You are one human with no warship, Queen Ashera said, though not unkindly. I'm one human with military training and a colony full of people who will defend their home. Plus, I have you. We combine human tactics with dragon strength. We'll be ready for them. Queen Ashera studied David. You would fight a dragon rebel fleet? You could die. I could die crossing the street. What matters is what we're fighting for. I'm fighting for my daughters, for my home, for my family. That includes you now, whether you like it or not. Something shifted in the Queen's expression. Respect, admiration, and something else. Understanding. Very well, David Chun. We fight together. She turned to Commander Rife. Contact our loyal forces. Have them positioned for defensive formation. And bring me tactical displays of the colony. We will need to prepare ground defenses. Over the next 2 days, New Terra transformed. Dragon soldiers set up shield generators. David organized the colonists into defense groups. The Avari contributed their knowledge of energy weapons. The clique helped with communications and sensors. Humans worked alongside dragons, something most never thought possible. They learned from each other. David taught dragons about guerrilla tactics and unpredictable human strategies. Dragons taught humans about advanced weapons and shield systems. Queen Ashera and David worked side by side planning the defense. They discovered their tactical minds complemented each other. Where she was methodical and strategic, he was creative and adaptable. Together, they created a defense plan that used the best of both approaches. The night before the expected attack, David found the Queen standing outside looking at the stars. Nervous? He asked. Terrified, she admitted. Not for myself. For my daughters. For all the people here. This is my fault. They come because of me. They come because they're power-hungry and cruel. That's on them, not you. David stood beside her. We'll stop them. Together. That's what family does. Queen Ashera looked at him. You truly see us as family? A dragon queen and human cargo hauler. Family isn't about species or status. It's about standing together when things get hard. About protecting each other. Yeah, we're family now. The Queen smiled. Then let us protect our family, David Chun. The rebel fleet emerged from jump space like a swarm of angry insects. 15 warships, all bearing the marks of dragon noble houses that opposed Queen Ashera's rule. David sat in the cockpit of a defense fighter, Sarah strapped, and beside him as gunner. He had not wanted her in combat, but she insisted. She knew dragon tactics better than any human. Papa, 3 fighters breaking formation, coming toward Colony Center, Sarah reported calmly. I see them. Hang on. David pushed the fighter into a sharp turn that would have made most pilots sick. Sarah just laughed. Faster, Papa. You fly like a clique merchant. David grinned, despite the danger. His daughter had inherited both her mother's courage and his own stubborn refusal to back down. Below them, Queen Ashera led the ground defense. Her royal armor gleamed as she directed loyal dragon soldiers and human volunteers. Luna was safe in a bunker, coordinating communications between all defense groups. The young princess had a talent for keeping everyone connected and informed. The rebel leader's voice broadcast across all channels. Queen Ashera, surrender yourself and your traitor daughters. Your weakness has made the Dragon Imperium soft. It is time for new leadership. The Queen's response was cold and sharp. Lord Darius, you kidnap my children and call me weak? You hide behind others and call yourself strong? Come face me yourself, coward. The rebel lord did not respond to the challenge. Instead, his ships intensified their attack. David dodged plasma fire and returned shots. Sarah's aim was perfect, hitting rebel fighters with precision. They worked together like they had been doing this for years instead of days. Shield Generator 3 is failing. Luna's voice came through their communication system, redirecting power from Sector 7. Good job, Luna, David said. Keep those shields up as long as possible. The battle raged for hours. Humans showed the rebels what surprise and creativity could do. They used tactics no dragon would expect. Unpredictable, chaotic, Effective point, one group of human volunteers, led by old Earth Defense Force veterans, ambushed a rebel landing party. They used the forest terrain, something dragons were not used to fighting in. The rebels retreated in confusion. Dragon loyalists fought with honor and skill, proving not all dragons supported the rebels. They protected human positions and coordinated attacks with their new allies. Queen Ashera was everywhere at once, commanding troops, reinforcing weak points, personally engaging rebel soldiers who broke through the lines. She fought not just as a queen, but as a mother protecting her family. David's fighter took a hit. Alarms blared and smoke filled the cockpit. "We're going down. Sera, brace yourself." They crashed in an open field near the colony center. David and Sarah climbed out, bruised but alive. 3 rebel soldiers landed nearby, seeing an opportunity to capture a princess. David put himself between them and Sarah, raising his weapon. "You want her? Go through me first." The lead rebel laughed. "One injured human? This will be quick." What happened next became a legend on New Terra. David fought like no human they had seen before. Years of military training combined with pure determination. He was not stronger than dragons, but he was faster, smarter, and absolutely unwilling to let them past him. Sarah fought beside him. Their team were perfect. Father and daughter against trained dragon warriors. They held the line until Queen Ashera arrived with reinforcements. The queen saw David bleeding and injured but still standing, still protecting Sarah. Something in her expression changed. Deep respect, profound gratitude, perhaps something more. "You saved my daughter," she said after the rebel soldiers were captured. "Our daughter," David corrected, "and she saved me just as much." The tide of battle turned. Commander Ride's reinforcements arrived from the outer system. Fresh loyalist forces surrounded the rebel fleet. Lord Darius realized his attack had failed. "All forces retreat," the rebel lord ordered, but Queen Ashera was not finished. She broadcast across all channels, her voice carrying the full weight of her authority. "Lord Darius, you wanted to show strength? Then show it now. Face me in single combat. You win, you go free. I win, you surrender your fleet and face justice." There was a long pause. Then Lord Darius accepted. Pride would not let him refuse. They met on open ground with both armies watching. The battle was fierce but short. Queen Ashera had been ruling for 3 centuries for a reason. She was not just strong. She was skilled beyond measure. Lord Darius fell, defeated but alive. The rebel forces surrendered. The war was over. That evening, as medics treated the wounded and people celebrated survival, Queen Ashera made an announcement that shocked the galaxy. She stood before gathered colonists and her people, with David and her daughters beside her. "Today, humans and dragons fought together. Today, I learned what true strength means. It is not just power or conquest. It is protecting those weaker. It is standing firm for family. It is courage to be kind." She placed her hand on David's shoulder. "This human showed me what I had forgotten. He saved my daughters when I could not. He gave them love and safety. He earned the title I now grant him." The queen spoke formally in dragon tongue, then translated. "David Chun, I name you clan father to the royal house. Your family. Your voice will be heard in our councils. Your people will be our allies." David was stunned. So were most people watching. This was unprecedented in dragon history. "Your Majesty, I'm just a cargo hauler who did what anyone should do." "Exactly. You did what should be done simply because it was right. That is the strongest thing anyone can do." Weeks later, after things settled, the family gathered at David's home one last time before big changes began. Queen Ashera had decided to split her time between the dragon homeworld and New Terra. Sarah and Luna would learn to be princesses, but also keep their life here. Their human home, their human father. "So we have 2 worlds now?" Luna asked. "2 worlds, 1 family," Sarah said. David smiled. "Sounds perfect to me." Queen Ashera raised her cup of tea. "To family. To humans who teach dragons wisdom. To the future we build together." They touched cups together. A dragon queen, 2 princesses, and 1 human who changed everything simply by choosing kindness over fear. And in the years that followed, that choice changed the galaxy. Humans became known not as weak newcomers, but as bridge builders. Species who had never trusted each other learned from the example of New Terra. All because one man saw children who needed help and decided that was reason enough. That was the true human strength. Not weapons or technology, but the power to see past fear and choose compassion. To build family where others saw only differences, and that power changed everything.